Sometimes you've got to stand up for yourself, and today is that day. Of course, it does help when you can receive helpful tips via the Black Phone, written and directed by Scott Derrickson, also written by C. Robert Cargill, C. Robert Wright. Right, Robert Wright. Yes, I use that line in my Sinister Retro Review, and speaking of Sinister, C. Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson wrote and directed that movie. Now, full disclosure, even though you could watch that retro review to hear my full thoughts, I didn't really find Sinister all that scary. In fact, I found Sinister to be kind of absolutely ridiculous shit to the point where I was like, I don't really see why anybody found this scary. That being said, we all have different interpretations of horror. And also, speaking of Sinister, Ethan Hawke is in this as the Grabber. A very, very sick individual that has a black van with black balloons and kidnaps children in Denver, Colorado in 1978. And there's this neighborhood where they're just, everybody's terrorized. Yet they don't bother walking their kids to school. And even though some of this stuff just suddenly happens, like kids are being kidnapped gradually and all this shit's going on, the parents, while they seem concerned, they're just like, the kids can walk there. They'll be fine. They're kids. They could fall off a 3-story roof and they'll be just fine. Well, Scott Derrickson also did Hellraiser Inferno, Exorcism of Emily Rose, A Day the Earth Stood Still remake in 2008, You Should Let Me, Whoa, and Deliver Us from Evil, as well as Doctor Strange. Okay, so with all that stuff about Sinister, all this and Ethan Hawke kidnapping a boy named Finney, who is Mason Thames, I'm going to say right now, Mason Thames is going to be a fucking megastar because he was really goddamn good in this. And unlike Sinister, the Black Phone is fucking great. It is fucking spectacular. I love this from beginning to end. This was really, really goddamn good. This was scary. This was bloody. This was brutal. Okay, there are a few logic loopholes. And you can clearly tell there's a Stephen King influence because this is based on the short story The Black Phone by Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son. He also looks like Stephen King after the van accident. That's mean, that's mean. Let's get back to this movie. Ethan Hawke comes across very, very creepy as the Grabber. And also there's Finney, or Finn, Finn for short. His sister Gwen, Madeline McGraw, not Tim McGraw's daughter, I don't believe, though I don't really know any familiar relations, nevertheless. Jeremy Daves, E. Roger Mitchell, which is a name that sounds way too snooty to me in a film like this, even though we have C. Robert Cargill. Hey, maybe E. Robert and C. Robert got together and we got D. Robert. No, I don't know what I'm on about. So, yes, kids are being kidnapped and very, very scary shit is going on. Finn is terrorized, just terrorized. He's like absolutely just aghast, like wondering what the hell's going on, as anybody would be, kid or otherwise. You'd be wondering, why the hell am I in this weird basement? Why did somebody kidnap me? What the hell's going on? Well, there's this mysterious black phone that occasionally rings, and he receives help from the other side, aka the departed children, the previous victims of the Grabber. And as they give him helpful tips, and as he finds a way to basically stay alive while playing the game, then he finds a way to maybe escape before things get really, really bad, and he ends up passing and joining them. So again, this movie's really, really fucking good. Bloody, brutal, very well acted. Mason Thames, fucking round of applause for this goddamn kid. Good fucking grief. I hope he sticks with acting. He was really fucking good. Madeline McGraw was really good in this. The fact that this came from the director and writer of Sinister actually blows my mind, because that movie didn't have any good writing or any good performance. Well, okay, the performances weren't bad. I felt the story and everything was kind of absolutely shit. This was a twist on the Sinister story, and also the period of 1978, and just the fact that they nailed it with the music, and the fact that they had to rely on word of mouth and basically just ingenuity, even though there were some technological advances. There weren't cell phones, there weren't tracking shit, there wasn't any of this stuff going on. It was just really, really goddamn eerie and just spooky. And sure, there are a few logic loopholes, like, okay, how did nobody notice that any of this other stuff was going on in this basement area? As the plot develops, like, how were the police not aware of any of this stuff going on? I know that Denver is a bit of a big area. In fact, I believe this is in North Denver, if I recall correctly. I watched this in theaters, so I didn't have a chance to take notes. But from the very beginning, you can tell that we were in for a hell of a goddamn ride. I mean, me and my best friend were there. one of my best friends. We were just watching. There were about 50 other people there, and everybody was really enjoying this. There were moments with the violence where it was like, oh shit, they fucking got this right. They did some really good stuff. And once again, Mason Thames, fucking goddamn it. Him and Madeline, great goddamn performances. Really good performances by the kids. Everything was like crisp and picture perfect. And yeah, okay, it was a ghost story, but with a real twist, like where it's like, holy shit, this could actually fucking happen. Ethan Hawke, who I am no fan of as far as an actor, I don't have any issue with him as a person. He was great in this because he was just, he wasn't even conflicted. He just had a few, like, you know, switches that he would flip on, flip off because he was really, really creepy. He was called the Grabber, and he kidnapped children and did things to them. All boys, by the way. I mean, regardless, boys are girls. Seriously, don't fuck. God, oh God, I'm still not clean. Stink of movie still on me. But anyway, it's not a stinking movie, just how creepy it was. This was really goddamn creepy and eerie, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised, because when I saw the trailer, and I think I even said this in the Sinister Retro review, I was very, very surprised, or I'd be very surprised if this movie turned out to be good, and it did. It's great. It's gonna be on my favorite films of the year list. I absolutely encourage you guys check this out. This is really, really fucking good. I am going to get into spoilers here in a bit. There's some good supernatural stuff. Sure, a few things maybe don't quite add up, but for the most part, I mean, the positives way outweigh the negatives. They're all the way down here in the Earth's core that apparently is just right near my floor. So no wonder it's so hot in here all the goddamn time. Nevertheless, really, really good stuff. They fucking nailed it. Writing, performances, all just fucking tremendous. I'm going to get into spoilers, though, so absolutely check this out in theaters. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers now. Okay, so if you're still here, there'll be spoilers. Just go fucking watch it in theaters. It's really, really worth it. Or you can wait for streaming. Regardless, see this movie before the end of the year, and then you can do your own list and decide if this should be on your favorite movies of the year list, like it will be mine. So yeah, basically, there's some early setup with Finn or Finney, you know, being picked on by people, and there's also this, you know, very, very tough kid named Robin that looks out for him, and he's not as book smart, so Finn helps him out with stuff. And at one point, he beats up this kid that like challenges him to a fight and everything, and just he does this like freaking front face lock, just like really well, gets him down, beats the shit out. I mean, just breaks his face. Like, good grief, there were some gory parts of this. And meanwhile, we get some, we get like some Sinister style setup. We get a baseball game that ties into one of the victims that's kidnapped soon after, a kid named Bruce, who looked like he aged about 5 years between the game and when he was kidnapped, but nevertheless. And, you know, Ethan Hawke's grabbing these kids, hence why he's called the Grabber. Finn and his sister have a good relationship. Their dad's very drunk and abusive. There were a few yelling parts in one particular part in this movie involving hitting a kid with a belt that I really could have done without. I mean, I get why. Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Could only imagine how the guy playing the dad felt. I gotta say right now, that mullet, sweet fucking Christ, that mullet was overtaking most of the scenes. And even when it didn't, I was still thinking about that glorious mullet that was almost a skullet because he was really, really losing his hair. Well, this kid, Robin, you know, basically says to some bullies, like he's taping up his hand after this fight and everything. And says to these bullies, you mess with him, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Get the fuck out of here. There's a lot of swearing with these kids, too. Really, really good stuff. And then Finn and Gwen have a good, you know, brother-sister dynamic. There's a girl that Finn has a crush on. And then Gwen also kind of has a gift. A gift that comes into play a little bit later in the movie after Finn gets taken. In kind of a silly way, because if you think that you're aware of the Grabber and you know that this stuff's going on, maybe don't approach a van with a weird guy that does magic tricks and everything and is clearly, obviously evil. I mean, I know they're kids, but still, nevertheless, he gets grabbed and he gets taken there, and then we find out, you know, more stuff about the various victims. Gwen has a gift almost like a second sight. She has, a sixth sense, whatever. She has dreams where she can envision stuff like crimes happening. She helps out the police and everything. Her dad is upset at her using these and basically why the police are showing up, hence the whipping scene that's really uncomfortable, by the way. And she ends up helping out the police because she has certain details she sees in her dreams. Why she sees these things, nobody really knows. There's a little bit of backstory about the mother having these gifts, but the mother got consumed by these, and the dad doesn't want that stuff to happen. Though the dad is an abusive drunk, so I don't really think there's much to root for there. Finn assesses the situation and realizes he's basically fucked. The grabber's not giving him, Ethan Hawke's character is not really giving him all that much stuff. And then eventually he feeds him and just acts all creepy and everything. At one point, Finn wakes up. He's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just looking at you." It's still not clean. And then he keeps getting calls from on the black phone. There's a point where each kid was able to do certain things and help out the other kids, but no other child was able to escape. And one point says there's this loose part in the floor. Dig that up and dig a trap. And then there's one point where, you can get this cord that I buried underneath here. Get this carpeting that's by this toilet. There's rolls of carpet. And you yank down the grate. The grate and everything. You do this. And also there's something that's a little bit important about that baseball game just a little bit before. Bruce ended up saying, your arm is mint. Your arm is really, really strong. He had a home run off of him after he got 2 strikes on him. So there you go. That arm thing factors in a little bit later. He does this. He keeps getting phone calls. And then we see flashbacks to how all these children were kidnapped. It was really, really well paced and everything. Unlike Sinister. I still can't believe it's from the same guy that did Sinister. And he basically finds a way to make a weapon out of the phone. His friend Robin helps him. He's going to fill it with dirt and he's going to find a way to use it as a weapon. Just before that, another kid with glorious permed hair. Seriously, he teased his hair and got downright sadistic with it. It was amazing. Incredible hair in this goddamn movie. We see his flashback and somebody interrupts his pinball game, so he beats the shit out of them and then gets arrested. And Gwen's having these visions of all this stuff going on. There is one little minor thing that I realize, and maybe is just because of a dream sequence and, tying in the flashbacks. But the police car had the number 440 on the back, and then when they pulled up to the kids, or they pulled up to the goddamn, house, it turned out to actually be 426 on the car. Then there's another side plot of a guy named Max, who is a brother. Turns out that he's the brother of Ethan Hawke's character. And, which is actually pretty easy to call. And they find a way to blend this very beautifully because he has no idea. He has no idea what his brother's doing. He's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with all these kids being kidnapped. He's trying to help the police. He's trying to do all this stuff. And it turns out, and I'll finish this up here and get out. But Finn is trying to basically, he's upset, obviously. There's this one point where that kid with the glorious permed hair tells him to dig through this and get to this freezer and everything, but he can't bust out of the freezer, and he's crying, he's upset. Now Robin helps him out, says, get the phone receiver, fill it with dirt, and find a way to beat the shit out of the guy. So finally, all this stuff comes to pass. There's this big old barking dog. Big old dog. My God, that dog was huge. It looked computer generated for a second. It looked like it was filled with horse steroids. Don't fill your dogs with steroids, you fucking dickwads. Moving on. Ethan Hawke just continues. He plays this game called Naughty Boy, where if you escape, he attacks you and beats you. Yeah, and creepy. So yeah, Finn is trying to escape, and Ethan Hawke comes at him. He's gonna get him. He falls through this spot in the floor, and the grate that was on the window that got pulled down snaps his ankle, and he just goes to town, beating the hell out of him with that phone receiver, and then. Mind you, his foot is broken. It is bent in a way that Kerry Von Erich even said, lad, that's a little bit much. And he lost his foot. Non-wrestling fans have no idea what I'm fucking talking about. And, but he always kept one foot on the ground, literally. So anyway, Finn just finally, he stands up for himself. He just does this. He's beating, I mean, he's just beating him in the skull with this thing, just whipping him back and forth with it. And then finally is like doing this because all these phone calls and everything are going to Finn to help out Finn. And then meanwhile, the police are going with Gwen because she had that dream with that kid with the glorious permed hair. Like, oh my God, there's the house. There's the house. We got to go in there. So the police are in this house, and they're in the house where Max was. And Max ended up getting an axe through the goddamn head. Here comes the Max. Here comes the Axer. Because, oh my God, I can't fucking believe my brother did this. And then the aforementioned stuff going on with Ethan Hawke's character getting the shit beat out of him while his foot's, bent Kerry Von Erich style. And he's getting choked out, and the phone receiver rings. And even though it's filled with dirt, it's for you. And they're all laughing, doing all the stuff and everything. And like, here's your day of reckoning and everything. That kid's arm is mint. Snap! Just snaps his goddamn neck. And then fucking, walks out. And it's traumatized as fuck. The dad even apologizes. It's fucking great. I know that I jumbled around that plot there, but my God, this movie just really excited me. I don't know if I'm going to go watch it again in theaters, but I will definitely rewatch it later this year, provided it comes out on any streaming service where I could rent it. This is well worth paying for twice, I'll say that much. It's fucking great. They fucking nailed it. This was great. Okay, yeah, a few logic loopholes and whatever, but it is what it is. Again, Mason Thames, really, really great, and Madeline McGraw, really good, and Ethan Hawke was great in this as well. Great performances all around, great pacing, great whatever. A lot of violence. Good amount of violence. A+. So agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.